Hi there, welcome back to the Kenny Veach M-Cave mystery. Today I wanted to present to you some important, possibly shocking documents in relation to the US military, certain tactics, methods, equipment used to inflict either fear, discomfort, maybe even suffering upon civilians. This has been passed on by a recent viewer on my channel. The documentation's supposedly public, so no issues there, but maybe not enough people have heard about it. I want to present it to you today because it could possibly link to Kenny Veach. Although this may be a general report, some of the methods and possible experiences, maybe side effects, could link to Kenny Veach. You may wonder why. Well, with the case of Kenny Veach and the M-Cave, the whole talk theories about military intervention, maybe what Kenny was looking for was linked to some kind of military operation, base, underground tunnels, networks, equipment in the area. Kenny unaware of that, but the military catching on and maybe taking action against Kenny. That's one way of looking at it. And prior to all that unfolding, Kenny's first time experience feeling vibrations out there, could that possibly be something being emitted? Some kind of military equipment to deter somebody? Because Kenny Veach did say he felt scared when he approached this supposed M-Cave. He felt the vibrations, it scared him, he didn't feel ready or prepared, he didn't have a firearm with him on that first hike, so he decided to, I don't know if he ran, but walk away. But he was determined to return back, never found it, supposedly. And supposedly disappeared too. Some people think that Kenny did find the cave and that's why he didn't return back. And some think maybe he didn't get to that point because he got apprehended, captured, kidnapped before he could get the chance to explore. So there's different outlooks, right? Not everyone will agree with it, but I just want to add some material today, important documentation which could apply to Kenny, right? And it's not just Kenny who's had experiences where one has felt vibrations through the body. Jeff Clark, a fellow hiker who's been searching for the M-Cave onwards since 2016 up to around 2022. At some point, Jeff did feel vibrations, and it felt weird, almost like being zapped. That was in 2016. What I do want to say is, as acknowledgement, what we've recently looked at with the lost time, there is more to cover on that regarding Jeff Clark and his hike. And as well, it does tie in line, but we'll separate it to focus in when Jeff Clark got zapped, kind of like Kenny Veach. So there are similarities with different hikers out there that have had the same experience. So for Jeff Clark to feel possibly what Kenny Veach felt, but in a different area, is very interesting, right? And if it's in different areas, what would that say? What would it suggest? Well, we don't actually know the area where Kenny Veach felt the vibrations. He said at the cave, but where is the cave? That is the question. With Jeff Clark, though, where he felt the vibrations were further away. I said I'll do a map analysis at some point in the future so you know the location and you're aware, okay? For Jeff Clark to reveal the location of where he felt the vibrations, but for Kenny Veach not to, could you assume that maybe, well, first of all, Kenny didn't know the location or couldn't remember, so he couldn't recount on that. But is there a small chance that maybe where Kenny felt the vibrations were in the same places where Jeff Clark felt vibrations? You never know. As said, we'll do a map analysis in the future on that because we might be able to tie it in together. But first, there is unfinished business with the lost time, and I just want to put in a certain order, okay? So that'll be coming soon. As for right now, we need to look at these important documents. For anybody that is watching live in this premiere, Be sure to share your thoughts, reactions, opinions in the live chat box right hand side of the screen. If you want to leave comments down below, or you're watching on catch up, leave your comments and thoughts down below to what you think about it, whether it's shocking or not, were you aware, could it link to Kenny Veach, etc. And if you are interested in my recent coverage on the Kenny Veach case, top right corner of the screen, click on the I symbol, you'll be redirected to the video to catch up on from there. So with that all being said, let's get straight into this documentation and read for it. So here we are on screen, as you can see. I'm going to read it out to you and you can feel free to listen along. If you want to pause the video and read it for yourself, you're welcome to. Now, I could have narrated this in some kind of cinematic edit with a backdrop and background with ambient music. But at the end of the day, this is serious stuff, and I know people like their proof and evidence. So here is the document on screen so you can follow along, titled Inputs for Psychosocial Dynamics Conducive to Torture and Ill Treatment Report. Note, kindly request confidentiality of my report. Date 20th June 2020. Respected Sir, Madam. So it is redacted, where those black boxes are for confidentiality and respect of privacy of whoever, whatever. But I'm just going to read it out to you, this report. So it's to do with psychosocial dynamics, conducive torture. Doesn't sound too good, right? Was Kenny Veach subjected to torture, I wonder? So it reads, this statement is with respect to the inputs requested for the psychosocial dynamics conducive to torture and ill treatment report to inform the Special Rapturer's annual interim report to be presented to the General Assembly at its 75th session in October 2020. So it's not exactly up to date, but it's past the point of where Kenny Veach went missing in 2014. So that's what to take to note. Says this is an urgent public interest petition to stop the illegal and unauthorized abuses of advanced military-grade weapons that are being used for torture programs. Torture comprises of mind reading, mind control, also known as MK Ultra, central nervous system control, 24/7 anywhere tracking, organized gang stalking, voices to skull V2K, physical injury, harassment through directed energy weapons. This has been going on in India for the past 15 years at least. I'm getting attacked, tortured for many years now. Voice to skull started in 2016. So all this is appearing to be after Kenny Veach's disappearance, but some of it could have been pre-existing. So is there any methods here which Kenny Veach could have experienced? Mind reading? Maybe not. Mind control? Maybe not. Unless it's after Kenny Veach being captured by the military, being questioned, interrogated. How did you find that cave? How did you know where to look? We need to make sure you don't say anything to the general public after, because we saw that on YouTube. You left a public comment talking about it. We can't allow that to happen again. You know, along that lines. Organised gang stalking, would that apply to Atari for doing her research on the Kenny Veach case and then feeling that she's been stalked by a gang or group of people, causing her harassment and unnecessary threats because you were getting too close to the truth, right? Is that even possible? Goes on about physical injury and a harassment. Now, did Kenny Veach feel or experience an injury on his hike? Not directly through the vibrations, what we're aware of. As for Jeff Clark, he felt vibrations, but I don't think it injured him in any way. It could have linked to lost time. That could be a separate thing. But it does say through directed energy weapons. So maybe for some people on the receiving end of energy weapons, it can lead to side effects. It can lead to some kind of injury, depending how exposed somebody is to that equipment and for how long they are. For Kenny Veach at the time, feeling vibrations and hightailing out of there quickly, not standing around, not going in, Maybe that prevented injury. As for Jeff Clark, not hanging around too long, so maybe that's the thing. But I don't know if you'd classify energy weapons linking to some kind of access denial system, if there's a link there. But, they're giving an example happening in India. This is kind of interesting. We'll see what's mentioned next. It says all these attacks are no-touch, covert, and are remotely operated, and so leave the minimum evidence, if at all, thus making all available laws ineffective and powerless to help the targeted innocent civilians. The people targeted and subsequently tortured systematically are termed as targeted individuals, or TI. There are several hundreds of TIs defending and fighting for justice in India and globally across many countries now. So, it's very interesting how it says the attacks are no-touch and covert, remotely operated. That would make me believe it could link to the Kenny Veach M-Cave mystery. You got some kind of equipment out there, covers a radius, operated remotely by military bases or outpost nearby or a few miles away on the restricted military land. And anybody that gets too close to these areas where the equipment covers, you will feel something. Okay? But it says no touch, so I guess that means you're not physically being touched, like if someone was to grab your arm, or if there was like a blade that ended up cutting you. It's not like that. It's just what you can sense and what you can feel, but not actually feel on your arms, like a touch. I guess that's what it means. So feeling vibrations without seeing the vibrations, without seeing anything present because it's covert, I guess that would apply to Kenny Veach. Vibrations through the body. Move on. It says 1. Total surveillance, mind reading, body-mind control, dream manipulation using neuro weapons, remote neural monitoring module, RNM. Using this, harassers can view all the innermost thoughts of the targeted person on a screen as clearly as one reads a newspaper. The eyes of the target become a live camera for trackers. Whatever the target's view is recorded on the tracker's computer or viewed by the tracker's brains using a brain-to-computer interface, BCI, brain-to-brain interface, BBI. These satellite-based technologies result in gross bypassing of fundamental human rights such as personal privacy, health, safety, data security, family security, etc. Pre-packaged dream sequences are routinely downloaded to LS brains, and harassers interact with the victims whilst they're dreaming. Stressful traumas, shocks are also induced via artificial dreams, completely wirelessly, without any chip implants, electrodes. Now it says without any chip implants, but I believe it was 2019, if I'm correct in saying, when Sean Horlacher went out to the desert, the Mojave Desert, trying to search for Kenny Veach and the cave, came across the covered up M cave, got too close to the cave, and then became sick afterwards. Has that got anything to do back here with the no-touch covert attacks on a person and then feeling the side effects afterwards, such as physical or some kind of injury through an energy weapon? Maybe that applies more to Sean Horlacher than others, because Sean did stick around the supposed covered M cave longer than other people did when they may have sensed something. But then the difference with Sean compared to Jeff Clark and Kenny Veach is that Sean didn't actually feel or sense anything was wrong or danger in that sense, such as vibrations. So if you're completely unaware, there's no signs of danger or threat, the longer you're probably going to stick around. And the more you stick around, that covert presence of whatever could have negative effects on you. Now, it was later that during some live streams, Sean Horlacher said after he got back with time, he noticed something was wrong with him, such as in his shin blade or shin bone. It seemed like there was something implanted within him, like some kind of microchip, whether that's linked to aliens or military, being tracked, monitored, traced with time. Sean Horlacher later said that there was an instance where it seemed as if someone tampered with his vehicle, as if on the way back from his hike, in between, maybe a failed assassination. Sean Horlacher also mentioned that times when he went to bed, he was having weird dreams and stuff. I can't remember if it was about aliens, UFOs, or something else. Was that linked to that supposed chip implanted into his shin bone? Because he did show a photo of his shin, and it seemed like there was something there, some kind of cut, incision, or something embedded in the skin. I don't know if anyone else remembers that. So, is there some kind of surveillance going on or some kind of mind reading? Is it because Sean Horlacher got too close to the truth and was hanging around too long and had a presence online, and with growing in numbers and awareness, they saw Sean as a threat, so they had to implement methods to either control him, to silence him, or to monitor what he does next. And with the addition of Sean and his experiences of some random people coming to his house later on at night, different occasions, maybe as a form of intimidation or a form of kidnapping, who knows? Maybe there's been a lot of attacks on Sean, which may have failed, but it was done with intent. And it could link to this, as stated here, some kind of manipulation. Neuro weapons being used. But it did say here without chip implants, and if that's what Sean's experienced. But then again, maybe there's different ways about it. Let's move on to the next point then. It says number 2, invisible physical harassment, directed energy weapons. Any of our body parts can be targeted and attacked by these directed energy weapons. These weapons may use microwaves, EMF, ELF waves, and can cause a wide range of diseases, including cancer, heart failure, kidney disease, vertigo, hands, legs, paralysis, internal decay, memory losses, to name a few. All at the touch of a button from anywhere, traceless, just by using the unique brain fingerprint, brain frequency of any victim anywhere. Also, many fatal heart attacks, palpitations that struck the victims when asleep may have been induced, catalyzed by these weapons. Which shows the direct power what these energy weapons can have. At the touch of a button, a life can be taken just like that, or silenced in many different ways. Number 3, disruption of thoughts, freedom by voice to skull, V2K. This patented technology is also known as microwave hearing, synthetic telepathy, voice of God weapon, and is used. 4, traceless mental harassment. Using this, the harassers beam in abusive voices directly into the skulls of the targeted individuals. Bypassing their ears, harassers interrupt and censor the victim's normal thinking when traveling anywhere in society by beaming an abusive voice into the victim's head constantly, hence spoiling work task completion. Victims also get wrongly labelled as mentally ill when reporting about this. Not many are aware about novel neuro-electromagnetic bioweapons and its capabilities. So, I've not heard of this before, but I've come across encounters, possible examples in the past of the use of psychological warfare, where the US military, maybe in the Vietnam War, where they would have helicopters and they would play loud speakers over the land so it would reverberate all the way through. So all the Vietnamese, I guess you'd call it, soldiers and others, guerrilla warfare tactics, whatever, hiding in the bushes, underground, in tunnels, the rat tunnels, or wherever. That music would be played. Would it be music, more sounds, reverberating, echoing, played out loud so everyone would hear it? Now, what were the sounds? I believe it was sounds of screaming and almost sounding like their own soldiers in pain and suffering and dying, as a form of psychological warfare to inflict fear upon the opposition and scare them, to mentally break them down. And of course, the opposition had their own tactics of psychological warfare, such as those booby traps, guerrilla warfare tactics of holes in the ground with spikes, and even grenade pins attached to trees with a trip wire. You walk through it, it would explode upon detonation instantly. And even logs and beams hanging in the trees, hiding, and you walk by, you trigger the trap and it would come down and it would take you out. And even spikes, which would have feces and diseases rubbed upon it, so when it does go into the soldier's body, it would inflict a disease and probably lead to a fatal outcome, death. So all these different tactics can inflict fear, whether it be sound, waves, physical touch, and as it's mentioned here, non-physical touch. So why are they implemented to begin with? Simply to be the one on top, to silence anyone who's seen as a threat in any shape or form, or even competition. So it can be used in war and it can be used in everyday life, as it's mentioned here. Let's continue reading. V2K is also used for the deception, causing confusion by beaming voices inside skull in between talks when TI is talking to other people, an impersonation of voices of close persons. Whenever close persons are talking to TIs, these perpetrators intertwine their own voices along the close person's voice by technology named EEG, heterodyning. Right, so with the whole point of the V2K, the voices embedded into the skull, surpassing all the self-defense mechanisms of one's own brain and conscious mind, would it target the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind at the back of those thoughts? Stuff you can't get rid of, maybe. Now, I don't know if V2K applies to J Chuck vlogs or SB Vega's adventures, because they heard whispers and voices which maybe other people couldn't hear, such as you recording the video. No one can hear those voices maybe at that instant, but they themselves, the hiker who's present, can. So it's like maybe the only reason why you can hear it and no one else can is because it's embedded into the person's skull, so only they can hear it and are conscious of it. Is it a form of weapon? Has it been weaponized? Or is it just a coincidence, right? I'm thinking of these different links. I mean, when it came to Kenny Veach at that time in 2014, Kenny Veach didn't hear any voices when he was walking through the desert, but we did on camera. So that could be separate to the V2K, but maybe what J Chuck experienced was applied to this. You never know. J Chuck in recent time has also noted and saw present in the sky planes or jets flying by, and although it's not linked to the area, that military presence stands bold. Whilst it might be present in the sky and further afar with the military land, what about within and right here? What lurks? On land, underground, you never know. Let's move on. It says total loss of privacy. Surveillance is usually carried out first unannounced, secretly for years, without the targets ever being able to detect that their innermost details had been collected and stored, and that their own eyes themselves are made to act as cameras, giving the latest details about themselves and the places and persons they visit. These devices are suspected to be authorized to access government satellites and are linked to supercomputers for data analysis and harvesting purposes. Victims have no privacy anywhere on the planet, bathrooms and bedrooms included. Now, obviously, it can differ from country to country. Okay, maybe some Asian countries, let's not get too specific just in case, where they may have cameras, spyware within hotel rooms, bathrooms and bedrooms like that, and that can be applied to normal civilians. Now, there can be other reasons and formats for that, such as creepy behaviour and wanting to see what goes on, and when people are changing their clothes and, all that type of intimate activity where they think what they're doing is normal by themselves and no one else around present watching, but there is, whether it be through the keyhole, through some kind of camera implemented in a lamp, or smoke alarm, smoke detector, a hole in the ceiling. All kinds of weird, creepy behaviour can occur. And when it's come to people talking about it and even showing proof, whether it be YouTube or TikTok, people have gone to these different hotels, not just in Asian countries, but probably elsewhere too, but it seems to apply more in Asian countries, where there's all these creepy spy cameras, right? And what do people do with that? For their own personal use, or they may even upload it online to expose people in many different ways. Could be a form of blackmail as well, right? So the total loss of privacy, yes, it's not good. It can create a level of discomfort, and you don't know what could happen next. But depending on what you do, what you say, and if you're unaware it's being captured or documented, it could be used against you in the future. So that can be another form of almost like manipulation, psychological warfare, like a chessboard. You think you're untouchable, invincible. You had a conversation with somebody on a phone or someone in a room, and it's been listened to. You could be screwed now, because that could be exposed to others out there, and you could get in trouble. So there's that. Let's look at the harmful effects of it. The targeted people's physical health, hygiene, peace of mind, career and social credibility, family, friends and other relationships, all these get seriously downgraded and systematically made to fade out via the above torture program. A primary goal in these slow kill, no touch, soft kill programs is to remove the TLS from the job workforce so that they're in range at home for longer times, to facilitate more testing, refining of weapons, and for training more operators and neural programs. The combined impact of all these together, physical wounds, 24/7, psychotronic warfare, career systematically made to vanish, is devastating to TLS, to say the least. Worldwide issue. Dr. John Hall, MD, doctor and author, USA, who has analysed the above phenomenon, personally calls this as satellite terrorism and the greatest threat to humanity as a whole in the near future. Looks like some more text here, also redacted out of privacy and stuff. Finally, there are hundreds of victims in India currently, and many hundreds across the world as well. As long as the public are unaware of the above secret surveillance on mass scale by these secretive operators, more innocent civilians could be targeted in the future as well. All these no-touch torture with directed energy weapons and voice-to-skull are remotely controlled. Thus, this full protocol, organised stalking and electronic harassment, OSEH in short, leaves the least physical evidence of any wrongdoings and has become strongly prevalent inside the many nations. This leaves us with a very rudiment question of dignified human life. What is more worse in this world than your body, brain and mind getting hacked, harassed covertly and illegally? And what's this? We humbly request UNHRC to take due cognizance of the above issue and include all non-consensual experimentation, covert torture programs of these remote monitoring, influencing systems and weaponized technologies as severely punishable human rights violations and a life-threatening cybercrime which needs urgent investigation, legislation, and most importantly, due justice given for targeted individuals who are severely affected by this no-touch torture perpetrated by covert criminals. Also request world countries through UNHRC to safeguard our dignity to human life with immediately stopping this crime, provide monetary compensation for the loss of productive life, and provide MIL grade shielding which will protect us from getting attacked by such energy weapons. And I think there might be some links here which we won't click on right now. When neuroscience leads to neuroweapons, US Army developing synthetic telepathy. Got stuff to do with India again, spooky mind reading technology. From psyops to neurowar, what are the dangers? Weapons of perception, neuroscience and mind-controlled weapons. Note kindly requested confidentially my report. Yes, it was censored. Sam, a range of stuff here. I want to know your thoughts on it. Do you think any of it, if not all, applies to Kenny Veach in some way or another? So it will be interesting to see how this video goes down. Be sure to like and share it so other people are informed of what's going on, I guess, within the world, or how it could apply to the Kenny Veach M-Cave case in some way, whether it's directly through military action or the government that can work hand in hand together. You never know. With the military land proposed takeover of the area where Kenny Veach supposedly hiked in and felt vibrations, could there be a link there? That there is stuff present, that the military need to get a hold of it once again, or just simply close off all that land, at least the initial approach back then, which was rejected. It shows that that area could be of high value and interest to the military, right? And I think SB Vegas Adventure said military are trying again in the background. So who knows what will happen next. But feel free to get screenshots of this video, of the documents, because you never know. Will YouTube silence this video? Will anybody else? I guess time will tell. Jeff Clark is interested in what will happen to this, right? Because if comments can get censored and deleted, not by me, but by YouTube, just simply talking about a subject or topic, it can happen. If YouTube are capable of that, something so small scale, then what can they do with this? It's interesting, right? Just once again, it doesn't matter the topic, what you're talking about. It doesn't matter how positive you may be. If YouTube don't like it, they will censor it. So even when I was covering the Dylan Rounds case, true crime, missing person, not to do with military, not to do with government, but could be tied to some kind of possible police corruption, and that's about it. And certain people being protected or things being dragged out. And yet people have commented on my channel from that community, and at times their comments were removed. And, you know, at times, after repeatedly telling people the situation, some didn't believe me and still question and doubt me, right? But from what we've seen, you know, from the Kenny Veach community, the people from the Kenny Veach community, people that may back me up, right? As witnesses, what they've seen and experienced, YouTube being responsible, right? You know, a variety of these comments which can be censored or taken away. I'm not even notified of it, right? If I go to the held for review section where sometimes comments are like blacklisted and then I have to approve of them or not, if they're deemed as going against guidelines or, I don't know, being rude or something, swear words. Sometimes they can show up there, but then all the other ones, which are normal comments, nothing wrong, they're not even showing up there. They've been outright, directly removed and destroyed without my consent, without the consent of the commenter. YouTube taking action into their own hands. So the more YouTube censors the Kenny Veach MK mystery and manipulates the algorithm, I should say audience, bad boy I am, the more they put up resistance, the more they're trying to cover something up, or they're being requested third party by somebody else, military government, on behalf of them. YouTube, take action against this person, against that person. Whoever gets too close to the truth, whoever is too hands-on, silenced, attacked in some way, covertly or not. Does it link back to the articles, documents, what we read through today? You never know. Be sure to leave your comments and thoughts down below, whether you agree or not, whether you think it does apply, and we'll see what happens next. As for upcoming Kenny Veach videos, I still want to focus on that lost time. And with regards in general to the lost time, I will elaborate on it because there is more to it from Jeff Clark's story, but that can come with time. We just really need to focus in on certain key areas first of all. So you call it a series, you call it a chain of learning, whatever. We'll get there and fully understand it eventually. I just want to do it in a certain order because that's what works best. Before we do go, I just want to highlight one final important thing. There's a new video, and it's actually to do with Susan Veach, the sister-in-law to Kenny Veach. If you're not aware, Susan Veach, for the first time ever, has publicly spoken out on YouTube in a video format with her voice, And the background photo being a photo of her, she didn't want to show her face whilst talking because not everybody likes putting their face in front of a camera, but as the proof of the photo of the individual on screen whilst they're narrating, it does link. As for Susan, Susan has shown a photo previously in the past to confirm it's them in the background, and it linked and it applied. And the same within the Kenny Veach documentary HLN, Mojave Nightmares. Susan did appear in that too with her voice, with her photos. So if people are a bit skeptical, you can compare and contrast from there and it should be okay. Just wanted to let you know about that. As for the link of this important video by Susan, I'll provide a link down below in either the pinned comment or just below or even in the live chat depending. So feel free to check it out when you've got time, and also feel free to check my last video out that I did on this case. We'll leave it there for now. Hopefully you found the video interesting, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night.